What's going on, folks? Anthony Armstrong here, the original 1-3. Very special episode of Believe in Commanders. I've got a very special man to the side of me. Which one of these ways? Mr. Joe Theismann is joining us. He is here to chop it up, talk a little bit of Commanders, maybe talk a little bit of Notre Dame, and just see what he thinks about our young quarterback in Burgundy and Gold. Joe, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Anthony. Good morning to you. Good to join you.
Yes, thanks for having me, man. This is a part of the Believe Network. So if you haven't, Joe, do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. All right, make sure you share this with all your favorite Commanders people so they can listen to this podcast and get in on this action for us. All right, Commanders are 1-1 on the season. All right, you got a new quarterback in the fold in Jayden Daniels, and he's pretty good. He's pretty talented. What have you liked from him so far? Week 1, a lot of action with the legs. Week 2, using his arms a bit more. What have you liked from him so far?
Anthony, I like the way I see growth. Certainly his athleticism is a given. I mean, he throws the ball well, he moves around well, he makes plays. I still would like to see him run out of bounds when he gets close to the sidelines to protect himself just a little bit more. And I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir when it comes to that. But I think Jayden will become more and more comfortable. And really, one of the things that people don't really understand is there has to be a synergy between the offensive coordinator, in this case, Cliff Kingsbury, and Jayden. And, when Cliff calls a play, it isn't just knowing the play, it's knowing why he called it. And that's all something that they're going to develop, that chemistry as they spend time together and go and continue to grow. And, the worst thing that could happen would be to get Jayden nicked up and miss a few weeks because, I've told young guys this time and time again, the most important thing you can do is keep yourself available to be able to play and practice every day. That way you have a chance to learn. If not, you're going to get on the sidelines. And, look at Anthony Richardson. He doesn't, he looks like a true rookie, but he already missed the season. And he looks like a true rookie. And so to me, it's being able to stay healthy. But I like the things I see, the way Jayden's playing this game.
I do too. He's really been cool and calm and collected. Everybody you talk to, Phil Simms talks about it. Blake Ruffino, he's on a show on the Believe Network. He talks about it covering LSU. The guy is just he's not too big. In no situation is too large for him. And I think that's going to come in handy, especially in this division. I mean, you've got tough opponents, the New York Giants. You know them. Hell, you played them in all these years. So Jayden will be able to handle himself there. Going up front, the offensive line, and we'll get back to the chemistry with Cliff Kingsbury, but the offensive line, it's kind of patchwork, not really sure what we got. There have been some pretty decent plays so far this year, but 5 sacks last week. How is their development going to help Jayden improve faster? And do you see it happening quicker, or is it really going to be kind of what you see right now is what you're going to get for the rest of the season?
I don't think what you see now you're going to see the rest of the season. And you touched on it, Anthony. There has to be a cohesiveness that's created between the offensive line. I mean, people, they talk about the quarterback communicating. We talk about secondary people communicating. One thing nobody stresses is the communication in the offensive line. And watching the game last night, I listened to Jason Kelsey talk about, as a center, the communication that he had to do. And now it's falling on Hurts's shoulders a little bit more, Jalen's shoulders. So as the games go on, as practices go on, the guys will get more comfortable with one another. You'll be able to pass off the twists and the turns on the inside. And I really feel like that this whole offense is going to grow and is growing. It's the same thing with the defense. I mean, you have to remember, like, half a dozen of these guys, I mean, on each side of the ball are brand new.
Yeah.
You don't have an expansion team. You've got a lot of veterans, but there's a lot of people that haven't played together, haven't been in the system together. And it takes time. It's a process. I know people get tired of hearing me say this, but the quarterback position learning is a process. The offensive line learning together is a process. Coordinators understanding one another is a process. But, we're in a stage in our lives in society, it's instant gratification.
Yeah.
We want to see Jayden throwing 4 touchdown passes a game, and we want to see all this kind of stuff. Ain't going to happen.
Not going to happen just yet. I mean, BetOnline had good player props on him coming into the season. About 3,100 yards passing, and they're a sponsor of the show. It's your number one source for everything football, Joe.
Yeah.
Right? So if you think you know your game, go over there to BetOnline. Get in on the NFL Survivor. I'm 0 for 2 on Survivor contest, so I'm throwing that stuff out, man. Week 1, I picked I picked Cincinnati. They got dumped. Week 2, I said Indy got to beat Malik Willis. They got dumped, but that's over there at Bet Online, so you can check them folks out.
This
Hit
is
the
a tough.
casino too.
This week was a tough week.
It was a tough week.
I
It
mean,
really was.
a classic. Last night's game with Atlanta and Philadelphia. Philadelphia, they figured out a way to lose a game.
Yeah,
Didn't think they could, but they did.
they
They
did,
figured
and
they figured out how to do it. It becomes clock management, time management, take points when you get a chance. None of those boxes were checked by the Philadelphia Eagles last night.
not at all. And you
So,
let a veteran quarterback.
You wind up giving up, in no time at all. Kirk takes him down the field, and I was happy for Kirk. Always
Yeah,
been happy for Kirk, whether he was
I
in
was
Minnesota
yelling.
or where he is now. Obviously, when he was in Washington, we became good friends, and I'm excited for what he's doing.
I love it. I was yelling for Kirk too. I was yelling, "You like that? You like that?" Just because he looked calm, and it's good to see him coming back from an injury.
Yeah.
To get on the field like that. Speaking just division wide, you already talked about Philly looking a little crazy. What about our friends down there in Dallas? They got absolutely trounced by the Saints. What do you feel about them? I mean, are they the truth, or is this just going to be another year of Dallas being Dallas?
Dallas has won 12 games the last 3 years. What we saw this past Sunday against the New Orleans Saints, with the people that were running wide open, as well as Kamara having an incredible day on the ground. I mean, scored 4 touchdowns in that game. And the offense of the Dallas Cowboys, with all that money that's wrapped up on that side of the ball, wasn't very efficient. This is going to be a huge game for them. I mean, they really, really, they've got to show. They've got to show up on both sides of the ball, or the faithful Cowboy fans are going to start to scratch their head about $60+ million one place, $30 million another place. Maybe some of that money could have been spent other places. People will be asking, I'm sure.
Sure.
But it's still early. Listen, with the few preseason games that we play, I look at the first 2 regular season games of the season as preseason games. There's conditioning. There's learning to get hit. There's learning to protect the ball. There's so many things that you don't get a chance to do that we used to do in preseason. Now, I'm not advocating, that we automatically go back to, like I came in the league, 6 preseason games, or even go back to 4. But with 3 preseason games, you don't have any starters playing until the regular season starts. We saw what Jayden did early on, throwing the ball in just 2 series in the preseason. Well, here we are now into the regular season, and we're not able to hit the ball down the field yet. We haven't scored we didn't score a touchdown this week, and he scored 2.
Yeah.
So I think that, again, I'm not a big advocate, and they're talking about going to 18 games, which I think is, if they want to go to 18 games, they better increase the roster to 53. You're going to have to dress 53 on Sundays, because we've already lost quarterbacks as we go, 2 in the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Guys are nicked up now. So 65 quarterbacks started last year, Anthony. 65.
That's a lot.
It's a tough position. You take a heck of a beating. Whether you get a penalty or not, you're still going to the ground.
Yeah.
And
true.
And then you guess, it's like I said, it's the process. But I don't think the Cowboy fans are happy, but they'll probably rationalize and say, well, it was just one game.
They'll be okay. I mean, I live down here in the Dallas area, so it's a little somber after a Cowboys loss, but it feels good when you fly in the burgundy and gold. But you speak about injuries. It's
right.
been happening all year. J.J. McCarthy was early on in preseason. He was looking good for Minnesota. And then most recently, Tua, the big hit on Tua. Just briefly, What do you think about that? What should he do with his career? Who should, kind of intervene and try to help him, make a decision how to proceed just with life?
I don't think anybody can tell anybody what to do, whether it's in athletics or in life in general. I think everybody has to make their own decisions. Having the history that he has had with concussions, I have great concern for his health and his future if he goes back and plays football, which he intends to do. Doctors will clear him and tell him he's okay. But obviously, any previous medical advice that he has gotten, you reach a point and you say, he was cleared to go back before and play. And he was cleared to go back before that and play. And so there seems to be a recurring problem. I just don't want someday in the not too distant future to hear that, Tua can't play anymore and he's not capable of functioning the way a young person should. He's 26 years old. He's got the rest of his life ahead of him. Economics are not an issue. I understand fully his love for the game. I understand that he wants to play. Sometimes it takes someone other than you to make the decision for you because you're so emotionally involved and that's who you are and that's what you want to be. And goodness knows, he will get his head hit again. It's unavoidable at this position. Um, I just don't want to see the next one be the one that really makes a terrible, terrible impact and difference in his life.
I'm with you on
So,
that.
to me, I would say it. I'd say walk away, but I know he won't.
Yeah.
But like I say, Mike, by saying that, my concern is just for the young man's health. That's all.
Yeah, who do you think could give him advice? I mean, is a coaching staff thing? I mean, I know the Dolphins would love to get him back on the field, but I feel
No,
like Mike
I don't.
McDaniels is the type of guy that may say, "Hey, man, you may think about your family and think about the future."
No, listen. I'm sure they're going to assess everything. Mike's going to assess everything with them. The doctors will go through the possibility of things with him. The neurologists will examine him. They'll run all kinds of battery of tests to make sure that he is physically able to walk back on that football field. And you know, who knows at what point that they're going to say, "Okay, you're ready to go." When he does go out, though, I think every one of us, every time he drops back, if I'm watching a Miami Dolphin game, and every time that he drops back, and every time that somebody looks like they're going to put a big hit on him, I'm going to hold my breath.
Hmm.
I'm just going to hold my breath and hope like heck he gets up.
Hmm.
And that to me, that's no way to watch a football game. And
Man.
I'm that, and like I'm a fan of the game. I'm a fan of the young man. But boy, oh boy, and it would be tough. It certainly would be tough for him to walk away. And like I said, I just think that you're really you're spinning the chamber
Yeah.
and not knowing when that shot's going to come. But hey,
Yeah.
it's you know
It,
it's got to be a decision that he's going to make. And like I said, I'm sure that there'll be a ton of information that he'll go through, and having presented to him, will be able to make a decision
yeah.
that he wants to live with.
Absolutely. Yeah, no rush, but prayers to Tua, get healthy. Just whenever you want to come on the show, please. We'll talk about it over here too. Let's go back Commanders focus. I want to go back talking about the coaching staff. I think this is a staff that's been very strategically put together. A lot of second chance coaches, a lot of former head coaches. Anthony Lynn at running back coach, Cliff Kingsbury, Brian Johnson is a head coach candidate. What is your thoughts about this coaching staff so far and how they've been able to impact these players and how it's going to help them kind of grow throughout the rest of this season?
I think it was a staff that was put together with a lot of thought. Adam Peters did a great job, along with Dan, selecting the people they wanted on the staff. Like you said, there's head coaching experience, which Dan has had, but head coaches in the league call one another. They talk to one another, not necessarily about game plans or anything, but yeah, game plans as well. But they talk to one another about personnel. They talk to one another about philosophies and concepts. And if you have them in house, it's pretty easy to be able to do that, because not everybody looks at something the same way. And I think every one of them is open minded enough to know that they had a job before, they have the experience of having that job, and now they're back to basically position coaches where they really, get their first love. As a head coach, it's hard to be able to coach a position. It's hard to be a play caller. There's not enough hours in a day. The responsibilities of a head coach are so vast and so many that it's hard to coordinate, to be able to install and do all the other things you need to do,
Yeah.
to take time for players to come and sit down and have a discussion with you, whether you want to talk about things in the home front, whether you want to talk about health, whether you want to just see how they're doing. Those are all part of being a coach. And the coaching staff is put together a lot like the football team. There are different individuals that have had tremendous experience. We have the same thing when it comes to our players. We have different guys that have different experience. Austin coming in,
Yeah.
Jayden, a new young man coming in, Terry being the veteran, Bobby being on the other side of the ball. You see you see different players in different positions being able to share that information.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful blend and a mix. But the
Yeah.
most important thing is how quickly can they gel?
I love that. Now, let's talk about gelling. You've been on good teams. I mean, you've got a Super Bowl, historic career in Washington. How did your teams, that 83 year was a very special year. For you, it was, great season on the field. For me, it was when I was born. So, how did your teams gel back in the 80s? In 1983 was a great year for you. You had MVP season. I was born that year. So 83 is a good one. But how did your teams gel, those old school Washington teams? What did they do that made them so special?
I think, well, the credit goes to Coach Gibbs and Bobby Beathard who put the teams together. In 1981, Joe Gibbs takes over as head coach. In 82, we win a championship. 83, we're one of the best teams in the history of football. 84, we're back to the playoffs. 87, they go to the Super Bowl, win another one. 91, go to the Super Bowl, win another one. He established a philosophy and a concept and had a bunch of guys that I call them characters with character.
Hmm.
All the guys I played with, everybody, if the game boiled down to that player wanting to make a play, nobody shied away from it. Everybody wanted that opportunity to be able to be that person, to make a difference and giving us a chance to be able to win the game. And we had a real love for one another, a real concern. The locker room was tight. We ran our own locker rooms. I can remember playing for Coach Gibbs. I think I played for him for 7 years. I can remember him walking through our locker room 3 times in all that time. The locker room belonged to us. We took care of things. We took care of business in the locker room. If there were issues, we took care of that. If there were young guys that we had to have talking to, we took care of that. And I think you really need interior leadership, player leadership to be able to have success. You need strong individuals. You need people that are respected, not feared, but respected. The single most important thing we're losing in society today, Anthony, is respect. And it's the one thing that I think every football team or athletic endeavor or business or society needs is we need to be able to respect the individuals, respect an opinion. When somebody says something to you, it's not a criticism. It's a chance to be able to grow and get better. And that's that's what we were. We had a lot of fun too. We used to play volleyball on Saturday when special teams would go out.
Yeah.
We'd have offense versus defense. We'd play volleyball over the goalposts. I mean, if it was a rainy day, you'd see guys out there belly flopping and sliding through the mud. I mean, we were really just a bunch of kids,
Having
big
fun.
bodies. I guess that's the best way to describe it.
I love it, man. And that's the best way to go about it. All the best teams I've been a part of have enjoyed each other, enjoyed being around each other, and you could trust somebody to do their job. And you mentioned having the leadership. I think when you bring Bobby Wagner in,
Yeah.
that's that leader that's going to close the door when tell the coaches to get out and say, "Hey, let's fix this defense." Right. Speaking of fixing the defense, but let's look ahead. All right, Cincinnati's coming in. Joe
Mhm.
Burrow, another LSU quarterback, Monday Night Football. I should say they're really heading to Cincinnati. What do you see in that matchup? What do you think about it? It's going to be a tough one, but what do you see in that matchup for to that Washington has to do on offense to be successful against Cincy?
Well, Cincinnati hasn't really found itself yet, with the issues they're having at wide receiver a little bit. Um, Joe hasn't played to the level that everybody expects him to, and we know he can play to. Hope he doesn't decide this week is the week that he finds himself, obviously. I think this will be a great test on both sides of the ball for us. Cincinnati, was one of those preseason favorites to possibly get to the Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl and dethrone the Kansas City Chiefs, which they had a chance to at that game last week to be able to do something. It's going to require the continuing process to learn. I think we're going to have to protect the football. You don't want to get into a situation where you fall 2 touchdowns behind and you're forced to be able to put the ball in the air and, put Jayden in harm's way. Because, if somebody's got a 17 or 14 point lead, I don't care what kind of offensive line you have, you're going to be in for a tough time. We saw what happened to the San Francisco 49ers after week 1 when they looked invincible. Then all of a sudden it's a different story in week 2.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think that these guys are getting the first win under your belt. It gives you a taste of it. Now they know what it's like to win. Now they know what it feels like to win.
Yeah.
And hopefully they'll be able to build on that.
I like the way that they won this last game too. When the clock was about 2 minutes left and they gave the ball, neighbors dropped that pass. I felt the ultimate confidence. I was like, oh, he finna go score.
Yep.
Like, I haven't had that feeling at quarterback. Usually, it's been like, okay, if everything goes right, then they should score. It's been now. It's like, oh, he's got it. He's going to execute the offense. They're calling plays. It's going to be good. Flipping it over defensively,
Well, 1 second on Jayden though,
yeah.
Anthony. You can see that the moment wasn't too big for him.
Mm.
He threw the ball well. He ran. Like I said, the sideline was right there. Had a chance. Instead, he's going to play Mr. Muscle and run over people.
I'm gonna need him to get down.
We keep, I'm going to stop saying it. He's going to be whatever he's going to be, and hopefully he stays healthy.
You
That's
will.
that's about where we're going to leave it. But
Have
and
you
then
had a chance to connect with him? Have y'all
yeah,
spoken?
we've talked. I had a chance to have lunch with him during training camp a little bit, and had a chance to say hello to him. Wish him luck every week.
Already.
Send him a text every week, just wishing him luck, and just keep growing, keep getting better,
All
which he
right.
does. I really like him as a football player. What everybody sees is obvious: his arm, his athletic ability, all that, his intelligence, his comprehension of the offense. But having a chance to sit and visit with him, I like the young man. I like him as a person,
I love
and,
it.
I think it speaks volume for the type of a person that he is. And so, I just want to hope. I wish him all the success in the world.
He's gonna keep it going. He's been doing great so far. Everything's been as advertised and more. But I expect him to have some success this upcoming week. But he's got a challenge. Going to go up against his former LSU teammate in Joe Burrow. But man, we're gonna wrap it up here. We can always chop it up. You can come back anytime you want to, Joe. But we got to let these people go. Thank y'all for listening. Joe Theismann, y'all, he's over here. He's hanging out with me. That's been pretty cool. Ooh, one last thing. You told me you only play golf when the temperature is higher than your age. And one,
Not
have you been
anymore.
playing golf lately?
Not anymore. I've been playing a fair amount of golf, so I'm, if it's above, it used to be 50. Now I sort of pushed it to 60. I like not having my hands in pockets all the time when I'm playing golf. I love the game.
I feel that. I got to get back out there. Maybe we'll play soon. We'll play soon. But happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all tuning in. And thank you for stopping by, Joe. Appreciate it. Y'all been hanging out with me, Anthony Armstrong, Believe in Commanders. Y'all be easy.
Take care, Anthony. Thank you.